Welcome back. Leadership of civil society organizations in Rivers State has called on Governor Siminalayi Fubara to clarify the budget being used for the execution of projects across the state. The appeal comes following the governor's recent disclosure that he found over 600 billion naira in the state treasury upon returning after the end of the state of emergency, a figure significantly higher than the funds he left before the suspension of his administration. The chairman of the CSO, Sonny Adada, in a statement, commended the governor for the disclosure, but emphasized the need for transparency in managing public resources. He stressed that clear communication and budgetary plans would strengthen public confidence and ensure ongoing and future projects are delivered effectively. Dada further urged the government to adopt a proactive approach in publishing periodic financial reports, noting that these would reduce speculation, enable citizens and civil society groups to track the progress of developmental projects and build trust between the state government and its residents. The CSOs highlighted that detailed disclosure of the state's financial plans is crucial for accountability and for ensuring that the resources are used efficiently to meet the developmental needs of Rivers State. Operatives of the Delta State Police Command have arrested a woman, Rita Ogele of Kokori in Ethiopia East local government area for allegedly selling her 2-month-old baby to a couple, Osas and Judith Omijie, for 1.5 million naira. The infant was successfully rescued and is safe, while all suspects remain in custody as investigations continue. The arrest followed inconsistencies in Ugali's initial report that her child had been snatched during a robbery. Further interrogation revealed she had staged the claim and sold the baby. Police are working to apprehend additional accomplices. In a separate operation, Delta State Police arrested 67-year-old Lydia Osanebi in Ugele for producing and repackaging adulterated dry gin for over 20 years. Large quantities of toxic chemicals, counterfeit gin, and packaging materials were recovered. Methanol, one of the substances, poses serious health risks, including organ failure, blindness, and death. Investigations are ongoing. Additionally, operatives of the CEP Special Assignment Team arrested Felix Africa, 44, in Sapele for buying and selling Indian hemp. 8 bags of suspended cannabis were recovered during the raid. Commissioner of Police CP Olufemi Abaniwanda assured residents that the command remains committed to safeguarding lives, protecting public health, and curbing illegal activities. He urged the public to report suspicious activities and avoid unregulated products. The Deputy Governor of Edo State, Honorable Dennis Idahosa, has mandated the strengthening of primary health care facilities across rural areas of the state. He gave the directive while chairing the 4th quarterly meeting of the State Primary Health Care Task Force in Benin on Friday. In a statement released by the Chief Press Secretary to the Deputy Governor, Friday, Agedo Idahosa challenged local government chairmen to expand access to essential and accessible health care services for rural dwellers across the state. It also noted that all hands must be on deck to ensure the successful implementation of the measles rubella vaccine campaign scheduled for 2026, targeting children aged between 9 months and 14 years, regardless of their previous vaccination status. He explained that the essence of the MR vaccine campaign was to boost immunity. The Deputy Governor noted that the 4th quarterly meeting, which was the last for the year, provided an opportunity to review the performance of the task force, which he headed. He emphasized that health remained a critical component of the shine agenda of the governor, Mondo Kwebelo-led administration. Enugu State government has dismissed reports that claiming that the National Boundary Commission has ceded Ete community in Igbo Eze North local government area of Kogi State. The state described the report as false and misleading, assuring residents that no decision had been taken on the long-standing boundary disputes between the two states. This was contained in a statement issued on Friday by the Secretary of the Enugu State Boundary Committee, Dr. Solomon Ejim. According to the statement, the NBC has neither concluded deliberations nor released any official report on the disputed boundary. Ejim said the state government contacted the Director General of the NBC, who categorically denied the report and disowned it. The government urged residents of Ete, Igbo Eze North local government area and the state at large to disregard the report and avoid panic. Ekiti State government has dismissed a surgeon accused of removing a patient's kidney without prior consent at the Ekiti State University Teaching Hospital. The decision was announced by the Commissioner for Health, Oyabanji Filani, following a detailed report by a 7-member panel of inquiry chaired by Professors Francis Faduyile. All members of the surgical team present during the operation have been suspended for 1 month, pending further administrative review. The state government will also cover the full cost of a new kidney transplant for the patient, Joshua Afolayan, and provide post-transplant care for 2 years. The government said it would undertake a comprehensive reorganization of relevant departments at EXUTH to strengthen clinical governance, accountability, and patient safety. While commending the dedication of health professionals at the hospital, the government emphasized its commitment to upholding professional standards, protecting patients, and restoring public confidence in the state health system. Nigeria Customs Service has recorded no fewer than 20 seizures of diverted transit containers with a combined duty paid value of 769.53 million naira between the second and fourth quarters of 2025 under the Kano Jigawa Area Command. The Comptroller General of Customs, Bashe Adeni, disclosed this while addressing the news conference on Friday at the Customs House in Kano. He explained that the seizures were part of intensified enforcement actions against cargo diversion and abuse of transit procedures. Adeni explained that the intercepted containers were originally destined for inland terminals and free trade zones but were unlawfully diverted in violation of Section 64B of the Nigeria Customs Service Act 2023. According to him, the illegal practice poses serious economic and security risks, including revenue loss and distortion of fair trade. He added that no other seizures included a container of prohibited Zamzam bottled water valued at 21.46 million naira, as well as 3 containers carrying medical consumables and lace fabrics worth 25.2 million naira. Adeni said 2 of the containers conveying medical items were forfeited to the federal government following a federal high court judgment delivered on December 10, 2025. He added that 1 container of printed fabrics valued at 75 million naira is currently under detention pending legal processes. He further explained that the service is deploying electronic tracking devices nationwide to monitor container movement and prevent diversion, warning that offenders and any complicit officials would face prosecution, forfeiture, and severe sanctions. Kano State Governor Abba Yusuf has ordered the revocation of all illegal allocations and encroachments on the land of Northwest University Kano while receiving the institution's first female Vice-Chancellor, Professor Amina Bayero. The governor also directed that all outstanding earned academic allowances owed to the staff of the state-owned university be paid before the end of December. Yusuf gave the directives during the 35th State Executive Council meeting when the Pro-Chancellor of the university led members of the Governing Council and management on a courtesy visit to formally present Professor Bayero as the newly appointed Vice-Chancellor. A statement signed by the governor's spokesperson, Sunusi Tofa, said Yusuf commended the Governing Council for appointing a substantive Vice-Chancellor through what he described as a rigorous and transparent selection process. The governor urged Bayero, a pioneer academic staff member and the first female Vice-Chancellor of the university, to discharge her responsibilities diligently and work in harmony with all stakeholders to move the institution forward during her 5-year tenure. He also directed the State Commissioner for Land and Fiscal Planning to assess the university's land holdings and revoke all illegal allocations and encroachments allegedly carried out under the previous administration. Troops of Operation Hardin Kai have successfully foiled an early morning attempt by terrorists to infiltrate the Bita area of Borno State from the Mandara Mountains. The troops killed several insurgents and dealt a significant blow to their operational capacity. According to a post by the Media Information Officer Joint Task Force Northeast, Operation Hardin Kai Lieutenant Colonel Sani Uba on the Nigerian Army X handle, the incident occurred at about 12:30 a.m. on Thursday when troops supported by advanced surveillance systems, detected the movement of terrorists advancing toward the area. Acting with tactical restraint, the troops allowed the insurgents to move into an effective engagement range before launching coordinated defensive fire. The post added that the further searches revealed multiple blood trails and shallow graves, suggesting additional casualties inflicted on the terrorists during the ground engagement and subsequent airstrikes. No fewer than 16 National Youth Service Corps members in Sokoto State have had their service year extended due to various acts of misconduct, including abscondment, chronic absenteeism, and other violations of NYSC rules. The announcement was made by the state coordinator Alhaji Usman Yaro during the passing out ceremony of the 2025 Batch C Stream 2 Corps members. Yaro emphasized that discipline is a core value of the NYSC and that sanctions are necessary to maintain the integrity of the scheme. He also announced that 2 corps members received the Sultan Saad Abaka Award for their exceptional contributions to host communities. The coordinator commended Governor Ahmed Aliyu for supporting the scheme, particularly in ensuring continuous payment of state allowances, and expressed appreciation to the Sultan of Sokoto for his ongoing support. Yaro noted that corps members are deliberately posted to rural communities to promote grassroots development, strengthen the education sector, and bridge manpower gaps in healthcare. He highlighted that medical personnel deployed to rural areas have conducted outreaches benefiting thousands of residents. Additionally, corps members have received training and support from the Bank of Industry and other partners in business development and entrepreneurship. He urged outgoing corps members to remain good ambassadors of the NYSC and apply the skills acquired through the Skill Acquisition and Entrepreneurship Development Program in their post-service careers. Sokoto State Police Command has arrested the leader of the notorious Sai Malam cult group and a suspected serial rapist linked to the abuse of dozens of young girls. The State Commissioner of Police, CP Ahmed Musa, said the operations form part of ongoing efforts to restore peace and dismantle organized criminal groups terrorizing communities across Sokoto. Acting on credible intelligence, operatives arrested the cult leader and chief priest Mohammed Mokhtar, popularly known as Sai Malam. A search of his residence, which also served as a shrine, led to the recovery of fetish materials, banners bearing the group's name, and items allegedly used to hypnotize victims. Most cult members were reportedly youths aged between 19 and 30 years. In a separate operation, police also arrested Anna Sani from Gidan Igwai, a suspected serial rapist involved in conspiracy, abduction, impersonation, and sexual assault. Investigations revealed that at least 28 victims, mostly teenage girls, had been abused through a scheme operated under the guise of the Sokoto State Masterpiece Brigade. Victims were lured to an office where they were intimidated and assaulted. Recovered items included a camouflage-style uniform allegedly used to intimidate victims and an identification card belonging to the suspect. Police confirmed that efforts are ongoing to arrest other suspects and urged residents to provide information. The command reiterated its commitment to protecting lives and safeguarding communities across Sokoto State. Federal Operations Unit Zone D Bauchi of the Nigeria Customs Service has seized smuggled goods with a duty-paid value of 82.1 million naira within 2 weeks. The zone controller Abdullahi Kaila disclosed this on Friday during a media briefing in Bauchi, saying the seizures were made between December 8 and 19, 2025 by officers of the unit's anti-smuggling team. Kaila explained that the Federal Operations Unit is responsible for enforcing customs laws, implementing government fiscal policies, and suppressing smuggling activities across 9 states, including Adamawa, Taraba, Bauchi, Gombe, Borno, Yobe, Plateau, Benue, and Nasarawa. We recall that upon assuming duty 2 weeks ago, he pledged zero tolerance for smuggling in the zone, adding that the recent seizures reflected the unit's resolve to translate words into action. According to him, items intercepted and seized during the period include 15,100 liters of premium motor spirits, 34 bales and 6 sacks of second-hand clothing, 150 cartons of foreign spaghetti, 80 sacks of used shoes, 390 jerrycans of vegetable oil, and 20 cartons of foreign washing soap. The controller noted that the relatively low incidence of smuggling recorded during the period, particularly in illegal trade involving wildlife, controlled drugs, narcotics, and PMS, was due to intensified patrols, intelligence-driven enforcement, and the professionalism of officers and men of the unit. Police operatives in Yobe State have foiled an attack by suspected Boko Haram fighters on the Gudba Police Division in Guba local government area of the state. The incident was disclosed in a post shared on X on Friday by security analyst Zagazola Makama. According to Makama, the attack had happened late Thursday night when suspected Boko Haram elements attempted to overrun the police formation. Officers on duty, however, quickly responded and successfully repelled the assailants. Makama reported that no police officer was injured during the attack, while no firearms were taken and no patrol vehicles were damaged. Makama reviewed that the divisional police officer of the Guba division was carrying out a detailed assessment of the incident and would forward a full report to the Yobe State Police Command. As of the time of filing this report, the Yobe State Police Command had not issued an official statement on the incident. Federal Capital Territory Police Command has disclosed that 9 armed criminals were killed during the gun battles with operatives, while 6 police officers lost their lives in the line of duty between October and December 2025. The Commissioner of Police, FCT Command Mila Dantawaye, disclosed this on Friday during a press briefing at the command headquarters in Abuja, where he presented the scorecard of the command for the last quarter of 2025. According to Dantawaye, the criminals were neutralized during high-risk anti-kidnapping and armed robbery operations after engaging police operatives in gun duels while attempting to escape or abduct victims. He said the period under review was also marked by painful losses, as 6 police officers paid the supreme price while carrying out their lawful duties to protect lives and property in the Federal Capital Territory. The Commissioner noted that despite the losses, the command recorded significant operational successes, including the arrest of 160 suspects from 300 reported cases across various crime categories. Nantawaye noted that 24 kidnapped victims, including women and children, were rescued from criminal hideouts and forest locations, while 8 victims of one-chance robbery and other violent crimes were also rescued. He further disclosed that 96 suspects were charged to court within the period, with 60 convictions secured so far, while other cases are still undergoing prosecution. Plateau State's chapter of the All Progressives Congress has welcomed the defection of Governor Caleb Moftwang from the People's Democratic Party, pledging to support him to succeed in his new political journey. The party's publicity secretary, Shitu Bamaya, stated this on Friday in an interview with newsmen in Jos. The All Progressives Congress on Thursday announced the defection of Plateau State Governor Caleb Moftwang from the People's Democratic Party to the ruling party. The announcement was made by the APC National Chairman, Professor Nentawai Yiwada, during the party's 14th National Caucus meeting held at the State House Conference Center, Abuja. You're watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. We'll be back after this break. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. This is the Global News on Atlantic Television Network, and now to the rest of our stories. Senators confirmed Orisemiyiwa Aisin as Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission and Saidu Mohammed as CEO of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. The confirmations followed the consideration of a report by the Joint Committee chaired by Senator Abdurrahman Kawu. The appointments come after the resignation of former NMDPRA Chief Farouk Ahmed amid corruption allegations leveled by Dangote Group Chairman Aliko Dangote. Benga Komolafe also stepped down as NUPRC CEO. President Bola Tinubu recommended the expedited reconfirmation of Aizan and Mohammed, describing both nominees as seasoned professionals in the oil and gas sector. Dangote had petitioned the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission to investigate Ahmed for alleged corruption, claiming he spent approximately $7 million on the education and upkeep of his children and engaged in practices undermining local refining capacity. The petition also accused Ahmed of colluding with international traders for the disadvantage of domestic operators. The ICPC acknowledged receipt of the petition and promised to investigate. Ahmed dismissed the allegations as wild and spurious, declining to publicly engage on the matter. Federal government has reaffirmed its commitment to environmental sustainability, public health, and global environmental obligations with the commissioning of West Africa's first and Africa's second polychlorinated biphenyls treatment facility in Abuja. Minister of Environment Malambala Rabe Alawal said plans will be presented to the Federal Executive Council to replicate the facility across Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones. The project, which began 7 years ago, was funded with a $6.3 million global environmental facility grant and $12.2 million in government counterpart funding, totaling $18.5 million. The facility aims to safely dispose of about 8,000 tons of PCB, contaminated oil and oil electrical equipment, eliminating environmental and health risks associated with the toxic pollutants, which are linked to cancer, reproductive disorders, and long-term ecosystem damage. Located at the Sheda Science and Technology Complex, the project strengthens national capacity for hazardous waste management, protects workers and communities, supports green jobs, and aligns with Nigeria's obligations under the Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollutants. Lawal said it reflects President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's renewed hope agenda and the administration's commitment to completing inherited beneficial projects. Key justice, security, and human rights stakeholders have opposed the Senate proposal to classify kidnapping as terrorism and impose a death penalty. The objections were raised at the public hearing on a bill to amend the Terrorism Act. The Attorney General warned that capital punishment would not deter could worsen Nigeria's security challenges and undermine international cooperation, particularly extradition of suspects from countries that oppose the death penalty. The National Human Rights Commission said the proposal raises serious constitutional, legal, and human rights concerns and called for a mandatory human rights impact assessment. The Nigerian Bar Association also urged caution, recommending that kidnapping be classified as terrorism only when linked to organized criminal or terrorist networks, and proposed discretionary sentences such as life imprisonment. Other agencies, including security and legal institutions, expressed reservations, while the Senate committees assured stakeholders that all submissions would be carefully reviewed as deliberations continue. Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Joash Amopitun, is holding a meeting with the leadership of the two groups of the People's Democratic Party. The meeting, which is being held at the INEC headquarters in Abuja, is at the instance of the INEC chairman ahead of the FCT area council elections and those of Osun and Ekiti states scheduled for next year. The meeting is attended by Tanimu Turaki-led National Working Committee and that of Samuel Anyanwu after the opening remarks of the Amputin, who stated that the meeting was to try to understand why the commission was receiving correspondence from two groups claiming leadership of the party, of the PDP, I beg your pardon. Journalists were asked to excuse themselves. National Institute for Public Policy and Strategic Studies has called for stronger support from the armed forces of Nigeria to enhance its ongoing research and policy initiatives aimed at addressing national challenges. The call was made on Thursday when the Director General of NIPSS, Professor Ayo Omotayo, paid a courtesy visit to the Chief of Defense Staff, General Olufemi Oluyede, at his office. During the visit, Omotayo commended the armed forces of Nigeria for their sacrifices and commitment to keeping the country safe and united. He informed the CDS of ongoing efforts by the Institute to develop practical solutions to national challenges in partnership with the Nigerian Army and appealed for increased support from the Nigerian forces to ensure the successful completion of the project. In his response, Oluyede assured the Director General of improved collaboration between the armed forces of Nigeria and NIPSS. He praised the Institute for its contributions to national development, particularly through the training of strategic level manpower and research into transformational policies. The CDS noted that NIPSS focus on research and development is critical at a time when the nation is faced with complex security and developmental issues. He expressed the readiness of the armed forces to partner with the Institute in developing sustainable solutions to these challenges. Coalition of civil society organizations has raised the alarm over recurring attacks during Christmas celebrations across parts of northern Nigeria and the Middle Belt, calling on the federal government to urgently protect vulnerable communities and internally displaced persons. The group said the persistent pattern of violence during the Yuletide had resulted in mass killings and displacement of thousands of residents over the years, warning that failure to act decisively could worsen insecurity and humanitarian crises. In a joint statement signed by House of Justice, Global Rights Atrocities Watch Africa, the Kuka Center, Middle Belt Times, Resident Aid and Dialogue Initiative, among other civil society organizations and individuals, and issued on Friday. The coalition recalled that since the 2010 Christmas Day twin bombings in Ongwan, Rukuba and Gada BU in Jos Plateau State and the 2011 attack on St. Teresa Catholic Church, Madala, Niger State, communities in the region have reportedly come under deadly assaults during the festive season. They cited this December 24, 2016 attack on the Goska community in Njema local government area of southern Kaduna, where about 120 persons were killed and hundreds displaced. According to the groups, the violence escalated during the 2023 Christmas celebrations, when no fewer than 212 persons were killed in attacks across Bokos and Barakin Ladi local government areas of Plateau State, forcing over 10,000 residents to flee their homes. And now to some business reports. Federal Executive Council has approved an upward revision of the 2026 budget from 5 trillion naira, to 58.47 trillion naira during an emergency meeting chaired by Vice President Kashim Shettima at the State House, Abuja. The Director General of Budget, Tanimu Yakubu, said the revised appropriation is 6% higher than the 2025 budget estimate. The total expenditure includes 4.98 trillion naira for government-owned enterprises and 1.37 trillion naira for grants and donor-funded projects. Statutory transfers are pegged at 44.1 trillion naira, while debt service totals 15.52 trillion naira, including 388.54 billion naira for sinking funds to retire maturing bonds. Personnel costs, including pensions, amount to 10.75 trillion naira, with 1.2 trillion naira earmarked for government-owned enterprises. Overhead costs stand at 2.22 trillion naira. The capital expenditure is set at 25.68 trillion naira, slightly lower than 2025 to prioritize completion of ongoing projects. Capital allocation includes 11.3 trillion naira for MDs, 2.52 trillion naira for multilateral and bilateral loans, and 1.8 trillion naira from development levy contributions. Yakubu highlighted that the 2026 budget balances macroeconomic stability and development priorities. Revenues are projected to decline slightly, but non-oil revenues now account for roughly 2/3 of total receipts, indicating a structural shift from oil dependence. Expenditure growth is largely driven by debt service, wages, and pensions rather than discretionary spending. Capital spending has been marginally reduced to prioritize ongoing projects and ensure value for money. The larger deficit reflects fiscal realities rather than policy expansion, with financing expected from domestic borrowing and concessional multilateral loans. Minister of State for Industry, Senator John Owan Eno, has tasked the management of BUA Foods with the urgent completion of its expansive sugar factory in Lafayagi, Kwara State. The minister disclosed this during an inspection of sugar projects nationwide. According to him, the move is in line with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's directive to accelerate Nigeria's attainment of self-sufficiency in sugar production. The minister noted that the scale of infrastructure, level of investment and degree of project advancement observed at the sugar projects reflect a tangible commitment to the objectives of the backward integration program. He emphasized that Mr. President had mandated him working closely with the Executive Secretary of the National Sugar Development Council, NSDC, Mr. Kama Bakrin, who accompanied him on the tour to ensure that operators move decisively from planning to full production. He stressed the urgent need for accelerated sugarcane development to match factory capacity, reiterating that farm expansion remains critical to achieving full operational readiness. And reaffirmed the federal government's commitments to sustained engagement with serious investors, traditional institutions, and host communities. Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited has reduced its petrol price for the third time in December 2025. A survey of filling stations in Abuja on Thursday showed that NNPCL has lowered the petrol price to 835 naira per litre, down from 915 naira, representing an 18 naira reduction. The development follows earlier price adjustment by MRS, Bovas, and AA Rano, which reviewed their fuel pump prices to between 739 naira and 865 naira per litre in the capital. The reductions by NNPCL and other filling stations come after Dangote refinery and depot owners lowered their ex-depot prices to between 699 naira and 800 naira. NNPCL and other stations had previously reduced fuel prices on December 4 and 10, 2025. You are still watching the news on Atlantic Television Network. Up next is international tidbits. Australia will launch a major gun buyback following the Bondi beach mass shooting in which Sajid Akram and his son Naveed allegedly killed 15 people at the Jewish festival. The government will pay owners to surrender surplus, banned and illegal firearms, marking the largest buyback since the 1996 Port Arthur massacre. A National Day of Reflection will be held on December 21 to honor the victims. Sydney remains on a high alert, though 7 men, if previously detained over a potential threat at Bondi, were released. Hundreds of locals gathered in the ocean to commemorate the dead. Among the victims were Boris and Sophia Gorman, killed while trying to stop the attackers. Sajid Akram was killed in a police shootout, while Naveed faces murder, terrorism, and other charges. Authorities believe the pair were inspired by the Islamic State and are investigating possible contacts with extremists during a trip to the Philippines. Here now is ATN Sports News. President of the Nigerian Football Federation, Ibrahim Gusu, has declared that the Super Eagles are fully prepared to win the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco. Nigeria narrowly missed out on the 4th continental title at the last edition of the tournament after losing 2-1 to hosts Cote d'Ivoire in the final. Under the guidance of head coach Eric Chow, the Super Eagles are considered among the favorites for the competition and are determined to bounce back from the disappointment of failing to qualify for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Guso said the team has been adequately prepared with the clear objective of lifting the AFCON trophy, noting that winning the competition would help ease the disappointment felt by fans at home and in the diaspora. The Super Eagles arrived in Fez, Morocco on Thursday and will begin their campaign against Tanzania's Taifa Stars next Tuesday. Crystal Palace head coach Oliver Glasner has praised Christantus Uche's stunning strike as the club held Finnish side Cops to a 2-2 draw in the UEFA Conference League at Selhurst Park on Thursday. Uche opened the scoring for the Eagles with a superb effort from outside the box after just 5 minutes, marking a second goal in the competition for Palace. The Nigeria international, who is on loan from Spanish club Getafe, impressed with his contribution in the match, which saw Palace concede twice but respond to secure a draw. And now entertainment news. Afrobeat superstar Davido will be one of the headline performers at the official kick-off concert of the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. Other artists lined up to perform at the event are French Montana, Doa, Layu, Seizi, and Latiste. The concert will take place at the Olm Suizi fan zone in Rabat on Saturday. It will be open to fans who have fan IDs and match tickets. ATL records Davido also performed at AFCON 2017 opening ceremony, the 2022 FIFA World Cup draw held in Doha, and the 2023 Professional Footballers Association Awards. The AFCON 2025 finals will start on Saturday with opening game between host Morocco and Comoros at the Stade Prince Moulay Abdallah in Rabat. American hip-hop star Wiz Khalifa has been sentenced to 9 months in prison by a Romanian court over a drug-related offense linked to his stage performance last year. The judgment was delivered in absentia after prosecutors successfully appealed an earlier ruling that imposed only a fine. Khalifa, whose real name is Cameron Dibre Thomas, was arrested in July 2024 after allegedly smoking cannabis during a live performance at a music festival in Constanța, a resort town on Romania's Black Sea coast. He was briefly detained and later released after issuing a public apology, saying he meant no disrespect to Romanian laws or culture. The Constanța tribunal had initially fined the rapper 3,000 lei, about $690, but prosecutors from Romania's anti-organized crime agency, DCOT, appealed the decision, argued that the offense deserved a custodial sentence. The appellate court agreed, replacing the fine with a 9-month prison term for illegal possession of a high-risk drug for personal use. The ruling is reported to be final under Romanian law. Wiz Khalifa is currently in the United States, and it remains unclear whether Romanian authorities will pursue his extradition or enforce the sentence. Romania maintains strict anti-drug laws, with cannabis illegal for both recreational and medical use. And that's the global news for tonight. Before we go, another look at the major stories. Rivers CSOs urge Fubara to clarify state budget. Ekiti government sacks surgeon over unauthorized kidney removal. Tinubu presents 58.47 trillion naira 2026 budget. Defense gets 5.41 trillion naira. NNPCL reduces fuel price by 80 naira. Australia launches gun buyback after Bondi beach shooting. Gusu assures Nigerians of Super Eagles AFCON success, and Wiz Khalifa gets 9-month jail term in Romania. I am Favor Chief Question Michael. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, now X, at Atlantic TV Net, on Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, and on Instagram at Atlantic TV Network. And don't forget, peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Do have a wonderful night rest.